Diddy, 120 new claims apparently going against him. 25 of those are minors. The Diddy tip hotline within the first 24 hours, roughly 12,000 phone calls coming into it. And it just keeps getting darker and darker and darker. Joining me to discuss, Bob Motta, defense attorney, host of the podcast Defense Diaries. Are you surprised?
I don't want to say it, but I told you so.
I
I'm
didn't.
pretty
I
I'm
didn't
pretty
say
sure we
no.
have it recorded, dude.
Yeah.
That this thing is going to go. Like the thing that I'm waiting for are the big names to drop. Like, just the other people that were involved with these parties, man.
Yeah.
The freak outs or freak
Freak
ups
offs.
or
Yeah.
freak ons, freak offs, whatever they're called.
Freak
Uh,
out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm not surprised. This thing is going to be a huge, huge nightmare, like in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people.
Does this, uh, in my estimation, it does, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on it thus far. Does this beat Epstein in terms of its reach, the amount of people that this is going to affect? I mean, Epstein, there was a lot there that could have been affected, but wasn't,
Right.
because he's dead and because there was a lot of political people in power. I suppose Diddy could get shut down and shut up too, but there's a lot of people here too. I mean, like politicians, music, actors. There's just, I mean, it expands a lot.
Yeah, and I think that like kind of the bigger thing, the difference between Epstein and Diddy is going to be that there's going to exist video proof.
Hmm.
Like Epstein was smarter in terms of keeping his shit on lock. I don't think that you had troves of videos wherein, people of note are going to be depicted in those videos. And it's just going to be a different thing. Like, I don't know if they'll be able to shut it down the way that they were able to shut Epstein down
Hmm.
by killing him.
Hmm.
And I mean him committing suicide is what I mean.
Yeah.
So like it's just a different set of circumstances, but the reach can be huge. I mean, Cat Williams has been out there in these streets for a year talking about this shit, and
Hmm.
people were saying he was crazy and blah 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 blah. Well, I guess he wasn't so crazy after all.
Well, there's another individual too in this whole case that it's the one who went into the Trump tower and did the shooting. Um, he was ranting about being part of Diddy's sex parties and being abused and enslaved, and people just thought this guy's out of his freaking mind. I mean, granted, he opened fire in a Trump hotel, or any. I mean, it's just insane to do something like that. But I don't know. It almost makes you wonder, like, was this guy so disturbed and so damaged from years of abuse and that sort of a situation that he was just so twisted that this is what he thought was the best thing to do with that shooting?
I mean, we certainly can't say that it's not because of that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way like, I mean, depending on the lengths that went and the depths. I mean, psychologically, it could have like fractured him completely.
Yeah.
I mean, we just don't know any of those facts, in terms of just like how dark this was for him, to where I mean, something went wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, a rational, normal, rational person doesn't do that. They don't just crack like that
Mhm.
and just kind of lose it and do that type of thing. I mean, typically there's a reason for it. Now, that's not to say that there wasn't something pre-existing and this exacerbated it.
Sure.
I don't know, but like, I mean, that's definitely something that needs to be looked at.
Well, I mean,
You know,
and after shooting up a hotel, it's like it was such a bizarre thing to start claiming and start saying that you're part of Diddy's sex party. I mean, this is before all the charges came about, and it
right,
just seemed like, well, this is the rantings of a madman.
right,
Looking back, maybe he wasn't so mad after all in terms
right,
of what happened to
100%.
him.
Yeah, it's not like John Hinckley with the whole, who was it, Jodie Foster?
Yeah, yeah,
You remember?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was like clearly just a guy who was insane. Like this guy was talking about things that weren't public yet,
Hmm.
that were ostensibly only known by those who knew.
Hmm.
So I mean, there's some credence there. That's to kind of be a person who has knowledge of things that you shouldn't know about or couldn't know about unless you were involved in some way has weight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, dude, this thing is going the depths. Like, I think we're just scratching the surface. I think this
Oh
is
yeah.
like the proverbial tip of the iceberg where we're just seeing the tip of it, and
Mhm.
underneath there's just a massive, massive nightmare waiting for a lot of people.
Yeah, I
Like, I
mean,
mean,
it feels like it's just an ice cube sticking out of the water right now, and but there's so
exactly.
much more to it. Let's talk logistics on this Diddy case and the latest 120 new sexual misconduct allegations against him. This is not like a class action suit or something. These are individual cases.
Yeah.
120. And again, we're just at the beginning. Logistically, okay, from a defense attorney standpoint, from a legal standpoint, how do you go through something like this and in any sort of practical manner to give credence to each one of these cases against him? And then if you're on the other side of Diddy, the defense of Diddy, how? I mean, you're gonna have like an army of lawyers or something, and even then, that's still a lot of cases at one time. And right now, we're saying 120. Add the other, 10, 20 that are out there, so you're about 130, 140 ish. We're going to have probably another 100 by next week,
At least.
at
At
least. Like we're gonna
least.
be in the thousands.
Like,
So you got all this. How do you even manage this?
I think if I'm defending Diddy, I'm probably trying to get all of the plaintiffs' attorneys together and talk about a global settlement. Like wherein instead of trying to litigate every single case, and I don't know, like, are they all in different states?
They're
Are
all
they
over.
all?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, you're essentially, maybe what you're going to geographically do is just group the attorneys for every claim that's in a specific state. Say if you have 20 in one state, 30 in another, you talk to those attorneys who go talk to their clients and say, look, let's, like, we need to handle this in one fell swoop,
yeah,
and start talking numbers. I mean, that's how you get rid of civil cases, is
yeah.
you settle them. Many times, in order to try to avoid the press, people of notoriety will try to settle, what they would call hush money.
Mhm,
By They'll settle it before the suit is filed in order to not have that thing hit the docket, which then becomes public record.
mhm,
I mean, at this point, the cat's out of the bag. So, the litigation process is going to move forward, which is going to really turn the screws on Diddy and his
mhm,
lawyers, because, as you said, I mean, he's gonna have to get different attorneys for each different state, because these aren't, as far as I know, I don't know if they're federal claims or state claims.
mhm,
If they're state claims, I mean, you have to have attorneys that are licensed in that state handling each case. It's not like you can hire one New York lawyer to
mhm,
handle cases in all these different states. I mean, you can have that lawyer basically be at the forefront of kind of the overall defense team, and then he's working or she's working with lawyers from different states in terms of proceeding through the litigation aspect of it. But, I mean, the feds are going to be telling all these civil suits, you need to hold on, like, whatever you're trying to do at this point, we're first in line.
mhm.
So if it gets to be that they're deposing, or they're going to be trying to depose Diddy, which they have the right to do in civil litigation. I mean, they absolutely are going to be trying to depose him. Um, how that'll interplay with the feds in their case, I mean, they might be up for it.
Yeah,
They might be like, "Yeah, go ahead and depose him. We're gonna have a lawyer sitting in there.
yeah,
We're gonna have an AUSA sitting in there listening during the depositions." Because, I mean, civil deps, you can frankly get a lot more discovery in civil cases than you can in criminal cases, just because of the rules.
mhm,
I mean, you don't have the Fourth, Fifth, Sixth Amendment at play in the way that you do in a criminal case. It's just different. You're not
mhm,
worrying about the same things in a civil case as you are in criminal cases, because obviously, when you're in a criminal case, you've got all those things that protect defendants in criminal cases specifically. So they're different beasts entirely, but it's going to be a mess. I mean, and the dude, I mean, the guy's got massive amounts of money, so I mean, they're looking like everybody that can is going to get their piece. Anybody that, even fringe.
Yeah.
Even if it's not something that rises to the level of I was at a sex party or I was one of his, paid sex workers.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who can sniff some of that Diddy money is going to
Mhm.
be coming out of the woodwork. This thing, like you said, like I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the thousands, and then like how it's going to all shake out is going to really be a tough job for Diddy's team of lawyers, who are all going to make a fortune as well defending him. So, it's going to be it's going to be a bloodbath, man.
It's shocking to think of the depths. I mean, just trying to wrap your mind around all of this. But yeah, having him try to settle these things that would make sense, I guess, in a normal situation. Doesn't make sense in this sort of a situation, though, where settling all these cases while under federal investigation and federal charges for sex trafficking and such, and all these allegations are about sex trafficking and sexual misconduct. um, is that a horrible look to try and settle these things right now? Because I mean, I know it's not admitting guilt necessarily, but it's a
It kind of
settlement.
is.
Yeah, it is to a certain extent. I mean, but does he do that right now, or does he try to fight this shit, or just be like, look, it's, wherever things land, and
Well, the reality of the two systems is that the federal system moves like a bullet train.
hmm
It does not drag like the state systems, the
yeah,
state criminal systems. Like you'll have criminal cases that go 2, 3, 4 years before they make it to trial. Federal system is not like that. Short of there being superseding indictments, which I anticipate that there will be, meaning that they're adding more charges
yeah,
as this investigation continues. I mean, that's the only thing that'll kind of derail this thing getting to trial faster, just because they've got additional charges and they need to work those aspects of the case out, before they go to trial. But point being is that the state, that's why I was saying that the interplay between the civil cases and the federal case, the feds are going to take precedent in terms of anything that goes on within the courtrooms, and civil cases can take forever. Like you can drag civil cases out for years,
yeah,
years and years and years, because the discovery process is enormous in a civil case. Like just the depositions alone, and the production request wherein you're trying to get documentation,
hmm
and you're going to have issues with the feds saying like we're not giving you
hmm
the evidence that we have because we're in the middle of a criminal investigation. Your civil shit's going to have to wait.
yeah,
Your money is going to have to wait. You know what I'm saying? Because if you've got civil lawyers sending out discovery requests for like the videos and
hmm
any other documentation that exists, you're going to have a problem that the feds are not going to want to be giving it up, and they're not going to be turning it over to civil attorneys
yeah,
for anything that would compromise their case.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And like so
and
how it's gonna play out, man, I just think that the civil shit will get kicked to the curb a little bit,
yeah,
and, the criminal case is gonna move forward full speed, and then, and the sales pitch from the feds are gonna be like, number 1, you got no say so over it, but number 2, once we convict this sucker, it helps your
yeah.
civil case immensely.
I mean, essentially, I mean, the feds have been served up 120 new stories to look at into Diddy. I mean, that's how the whole criminal one started through the civil cases. They started looking, going,
Right.
"This is messed up." Here's
Exactly.
120 more, which will very likely lead to more superseding indictments once they
Exactly.
get a chance to sift through all of this.
Yep. 100%, man, and it's like the other thing that we talked about, the last time we talked about Diddy, is that the other thing that you're going to see is that people that are going to be wanting to save their skin
Mhm.
are going to be flipping on him,
Yeah,
whereas they're going to squeeze him depending on the severity of what the feds believe that these people may have done, whether or not it ends up into like full immunity wherein we're not going to charge you, but you have to flip and you have to disclose everything and you've got to be truthful about it, where they give them a proffer and they say, all right, like spill, tell us
mhm,
what you got. Like if you think you're going to get a deal from us, we need to hear every bit of it and we need to be able to verify that it's all true.
mhm.
Like that's going to be happening. So like, that's what I was saying. There's no doubt in my mind there's going to be superseding indictments that just keep flowing in like a river. because as soon as they start getting these people in and they're proffering them, and they're getting more details of things that were going on, and the bigger the name, the more they have to protect, so it's like for them, and that's what I was talking about the last time we talked. It's like they're always going after the big fish, right? They're always trying to work their way up the rung of the ladder in order to get to the top guy.
Hmm.
And here they got the top guy.
Hmm.
They got the dude. And that's Diddy, So it's like everybody below, they didn't have to worry about, just going through all those cases and making all those arrests in order to get people to flip, because that's how they do it. Like, I mean, that's exactly how they take, drug kingpins down, or,
Hmm.
back in the old days, that's how they used to try to get, the mafia guys with the
Yeah.
Rico stuff, by getting the lower rung guys, squeezing them, getting them to turn, getting them to wear wires, getting them to collect evidence in order to build the case against the big fish, which is really what their main goal is.
There's been a lot of accusations against some of Diddy's sons that have been made. No charges as of right now. There has been civil suits filed there, though. Um, that those kids, I mean, they're adults, but I would think if you want your golden ticket to bring Diddy down, I bet those kids could pretty much, sing whatever song you wanted them to sing, and it's going to be true, and would definitely incriminate dad. Do you think we're going to see Diddy's kids flip on dad?
I mean,
Because I mean, they could
it
very
dep-
easily also be facing very
I mean,
serious
are you
criminal
asking me,
charges.
could they? Of course they could. The
Could they? Yeah,
question,
but will they? I
right?
guess. Yeah,
Will
will
they?
they?
It depends on the lessons that Diddy taught his kids growing up.
True.
Is he a big, snitches get stitches guy? That you don't rat, or did he not teach him that? Also, is there going to be conversations with Diddy where he's going to man up and say, I don't want you going down on this shit with me?
Hmm.
Flip.
Yeah.
It's like I'm done anyway. Like, he's got to realize he's done.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, reality is going to set in. I don't know if he's still in delusion world
Uh
where he
huh.
thinks he's walking out of this thing unscathed, but that's not happening.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he's a real man, if he's a real father, he's going to go to his kids and say, I'm not dragging you down with me.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do.
Make the
You
deal.
know,
Yeah.
make the deal,
Yeah.
take the deal. It's like, I'm going to man up on it. And is he that kind of guy? I don't know. I tend to think not, but
Yeah. I mean,
who knows?
if these kids were brought up in a world of narcissism and me is number one, um, I could see the kids believing that about themselves. Me is number one, even above dad.
Totally. Yeah,
And
it's like,
yeah.
or like have a terrible case of affluenza,
Mm.
where
Exactly.
they
Happen to
just,
die.
yeah, it's like, it's just like, I don't understand consequences. I've never had a consequence in my life.
No.
Like, what do you mean? I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know there was something wrong with that. My dad said it was cool. It's like,
The thing
who
is, you're
knows,
probably
man? Oh,
right.
dude,
If
like this
anybody,
case,
if anybody has an argument for that, it's these kids, or these young
for
adults.
real.
If that's all they knew, and they thought that this is just normal life, yeah,
100%,
yeah.
100%. Man, yeah, this kid, like, and it's funny, T. It's like I'm sitting there, like, I'm a little bit surprised that this case isn't getting like more traction. Like, and there's plenty of coverage on it, but I just thought it would like set the world on fire. Like, I've done lives on it, and I did better on lives
Hmm.
talking about the sheriff who shot the judge than I did on my Diddy lives.
Interesting.
It's weird,
Well,
man. It's
yeah,
like,
over on our end, Diddy is the hottest topic in the world, and
yeah, I
and
know, it's
and we have
funny.
the channel called Downfall of Diddy, which is a separate podcast channel. People just want to listen to Diddy stuff, and I think we saw like 300 some thousand increase in listenership when the charges dropped, and it's just been ridiculous every single day. It's actually the most listened to podcast we have right now
Wow.
because of the topic of Diddy.
Wow.
And every single day there's this new pile of stuff to go through.
I
It's
know, man.
unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable thing, man. And we live in a really weird world.
Yeah, we do. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Bruschi, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.